Hey, family, come on in. Your journey has brought you home. This podcast is for women like you, nurses, busy moms, entrepreneurs, high functioning people doing their best to show up every day with grace, strength, and purpose. Today, we're going to talk about how do you heal and bounce back from a relationship that ends, whether it is a marriage, dating, or friendship. Now, what do you do when people you thought would always be in your life and they walk away? That's the real question so many women, especially busy moms, nurses, and high functioning professionals, are silently asking every night before they go to bed. When your relationship ends, whether it's a marriage, a situationship, or a long standing friendship, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your spirit. It shatters the routines, the dreams, the support systems that you built around that connection. But here's the truth: you can come back from this. You can find yourself again. Let's start with this. It's not just about moving on, it's about coming back to who you are. It's about taking small, meaningful steps that align with your truth, your values, and your vision, even when your heart still feels raw. So, if you've been asking, how do I bounce back after a breakup that turned my world upside down? Stay with me. Let's walk through this together. First, let's talk about when a marriage ends, even if you didn't want it to. A broken marriage can feel like the floor was ripped from beneath your life. But there are layers: shared homes, children, finances, faith ties, and for many, deep identity wounds. First, you need to grieve the version of who you were while you were married. Don't rush to be so strong or say it's okay. Show that unresolved grief will lead to emotional numbness and difficulty forming future healthy relationships. So it can affect the way that you move on into your future relationship. So this is why it's important that when you bounce back, that you bounce back correctly. So what you want to do is rebuild your self-trust again. Start with little decisions. What time do you want to eat dinner? What feels peaceful in your home again? This strengthens your ability to lead yourself again. Then you could tackle the big things like, where am I going to live? How am I going to manage my finances? All of those things will come into play once you gain your self-trust. But by all means, make sure you come up with a plan, a revisable plan at that, because you're going to be making revisions to that plan and that strategy from day to day. Next, redefine the vision of love and partnership. Use tools like guided journals. Get you a good support group. Sometimes coaching can help you to rewrite what love looks like for you going forward. It is very important that you find even mentors, but they don't have to necessarily be in your life, but you may want to read about other people's story and how they came back and how did they overcome. It will help you to be able to make rounded decisions of how you want to come back and what your comeback is going to look like. Now, let's talk about if you're dating and thought it was leading somewhere. You were giving your time, your energy, your emotional availability to someone, and now you've been ghosted, maybe even dumped, and now you are left wondering and feeling foolish, like you had done something wrong. But first, what you must do is acknowledge the attachment, not just the person. That you don't have to just grieve the person, but you can grieve the role they played in your emotional regulation. What do I mean by that? A lot of times breakups can hit like a withdrawal. And you have to acknowledge the fact that you were attached. And sometimes that attachment can happen very early on. And sometimes it can even surprise you that you actually was getting attached. Because you may have only had one or two times in that person's presence, but a lot of times what happens is many people, when they're starting in the process of meeting someone, you start to mentally imagine you and that person coming together. So now you have to now recreate and reclaim your power. That means you have to take back what you gave away. Sometimes people do it through writing a letter, telling their truth. Sometimes you can do symbolic closures in order to allow your brain to shift out of those obsessive thoughts that you keep looping over and over. Meaning a lot of times when you're trying to reconcile what happened, you keep playing it over and over in your mind like a video that keeps restarting. So it's very important that you take back your power and reclaim your time and put it all in a letter or in some type of symbolic gesture to bring closure. Next, stop blaming yourself for being open to finding love again. Be available and believing in love isn't weak, it's brave. So now you have to reframe your story, letting yourself know you were courageous enough to try again. And now you have to understand that you can trust your judgment again after you do your reflection, after you do your closing, after you be able to come to some resolve. Then now you can go into your next relationship without regret. Finally, what about a friendship that ends and it feels like a piece of you are gone? I'm not talking about those type of friendships where you just met that person in a couple of weeks. I'm talking about those friendships that have been in your life for a very long time. Friendship breakups are rarely ever talked about, but they do cut deep too. Especially when you've shared milestones, kids, business ideas, you put in years of loyalty, and you have really invested in that relationship. What must you do? Validate the loss. It's a breakup. Even though it's a friendship, it's still a breakup. Next, detach without bitterness. Bitterness keeps you bounded in a negative way. Acceptance allows you to reclaim your peace. You may have to journal what you've learned from that relationship, because let's face it, many of these relationships are complicated. You've had good times with that person. You all shared great memories together. You may even have pictures and videos to prove it. But you cannot let that hold you back. And so you must journal. You must think about it. You must set boundaries, and you must hold it and allow that relationship to close as it has already ended. Then you will need to create new circles. Don't wait for relationships or friendships to happen. Intentionally build new connections around shared values and support. So make sure that the people that you reconnect are people in align with your values today. A lot of times friendships will end and relationships will end because a lot of times you have evolved into a whole nother person. And sometimes, let's face it, sometimes they evolved into a whole different person. And because of that, sometimes you all are not evolving on the same shared values anymore. Sometimes your values have changed and you have changed the way that you think and see things, and it has caused you all to be going in separate directions and separate paths. So it's okay. So you will reconnect with people who are on the same path that you're on right now, whether it's through sisterhood spaces, spiritual communities, mastermind groups, or just a connection. This may be your connection to a comeback. Now, here's the truth that you may not feel yet. A breakup is not the end of your story. It's the turning point. You are not broken, but you are becoming. And every season of release is also a season for you to begin to replan. So today, take your small step. If you need to, listen again to this episode. And then I want you to go to MOMAFEY-HT and download your affirmations. There's also a journal where you can journal for your healing and for your clarity, and use them to start reshaping your inner dialogue. And then follow me, like, and take the journey, because your comeback story is not just possible, it is already unfolding.